Here we go. At the top of the class on the road. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the packet to the floor, ayy. On the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, who about to see me on demand like. No on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string. You ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream. And we're coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go. At the top of the class on the road. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the packet to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on the road, hey. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the packet to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go.
What is up, everybody? You know, I always start this show off by showing love to those companies who help make this podcast possible. If I can get this thing in the middle, because it wants to be a pain. Um, anyway, you guys can see it. Let's do this. Oh, yeah, let me make sure that this doesn't mess you guys up real fast. Oh, down here. There we go. There we go. So, yeah, first and foremost, give me my friends over at Yellow Jacket. Like I always tell all of you, I will never tell you where to spend your money. Never. All I will do is make recommendations. Whether you take them or not is completely up to you. I have been using Yellow Jacket products for 25 plus years now since I entered this trade with my father. Yellow Jacket was my first set of gauges, so it holds a near and dear place in my heart. But I also think that they make the best hoses no matter what manifold that you decide to buy. And I do think that some of their new stuff that is out is absolutely amazing and durable. One of the two things that I want to, highlight tonight is going to be the new digital manifold, the Titan Max. Guys, this thing is sweet. I told you I was a beta tester for this. I was one of the first people to have it. I have seen the progression. I've seen where they started to where they've came from, where they've come to. I'm sorry, and it is absolutely amazing. This thing is durable. I promise you guys can beat the living hell out of that thing, and you're gonna hit the power button the next morning, and it's still gonna work. It is ergonomical as far as the way you hold it. It connects to True Tech Tools. I mean, I'm sorry, not True Tech Tools. Uh, the Measure Quick app. So now you can use Yellow Jacket with the Measure Quick app. This is a big thing for some people, even though Yellow Jacket updated their app, the YJack app, which is absolutely amazing. But if you're already using Measure Quick and say you have a bunch of different brands and you buy this, you can still use those other tools in conjunction on the Measure Quick app. So you can mix and match with Yellow Jacket, Testo, Field Piece, whatever it is, so that you don't have to feel locked into a brand, kind of like the drill companies, where once you get stuck in the batteries, you're kind of stuck because now the batteries all work together. They did not do that. And the fact that Yellow Jacket even said that at AHR says a lot about them because most companies would not even make that comment or even bring that up at all. So that manifold is absolutely amazing. I highly suggest if anybody is looking for a digital manifold going into this summer to check out the Titan Max from my friends over at Yellow Jacket. One of the other things that was just released is going to be the YJack Flow anemometer. I have this as well. I'm going to be giving this thing away whenever I can get to do these giveaways. Got to do the veto first. Anyway, this thing is sweet, and this magnet that you'll see up here is nobody has this but Yellow Jacket. They made this in a 3D printer, was the first one. I remember they made the first one. This thing is very, very sweet. So if any of you guys are looking to spend some of that before summer money, go to your local supply house and check it out. or you can now buy Yellow Jacket tools on True Tech Tools. And you can also use the discount code Uncensored to save 8% on your order. All right. Remember, Yellow Jacket, 75 years of expertise built into every tool. Next, you know who it is? It's going to be my friends over at BLUON. A lot of you don't know there are so many things that have been going on with BLUON, and it's been amazing. And to be honest, I was talking with them today. I had a meeting playing catch up, and one of the biggest things that I'm super excited for that has launched is going to be BLUON for Business. They say B for B, BLUON for Contractors, to where all of you technicians out there, you should go to your manager, your owner right now and say, hey, you should check out BLUON for Contractors. What this is going to work, it's going to give all of you the features, but it's going to be an investment for your owner to pay for, but it's going to be heavily discounted, but it's going to get all of you all of the features that you need to be able to do your job. It's going to give you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, tech support. You're never, ever going to be hung out to dry. You're going to get all the manual stuff, the buying power, and then your boss is going to be able to see whatever you guys do. He's going to be able to keep track and see how you use it and all that kind of stuff. They are really trying to make this. So BLUON tried to keep this free for techs for as long as possible. And a lot of the buying stuff, people weren't buying from the supply houses at mass quantity like they thought they were going to. And I know that it broke their heart when they had to start charging for some things. Sometimes you make a plan, the plan doesn't work. And that's what happened. So BLUON is unveiling some different things, but this BLUON for Contractors is amazing. For me, as someone who runs a business, this is a no-brainer. Obviously, I'm not going to pay for it. You guys know that I'm not going to sit and lie to you because they are my anchor sponsor. But if I had to, I would do it in a heartbeat. So all of you guys out there, if you are an owner or a manager, I am going to have a link here in the next, probably by the next show, I will have a link for you guys to be able to click, and you'll be able to try this out for 1 month for free. And if you're a one-man band, they have a special thing for that where it's like $99 a month and it's unlimited. You can get manuals, tech support, whatever you want. So they're trying to make all these different options for everybody out there. So go check out BLUON for Contractors. It is absolutely amazing. It's going to give you every single thing that you need to be able to have all the tech support, the manuals, order your parts, the truck stock, all of it wrapped into one. So I highly suggest that you guys go beat on your boss's desk tomorrow morning and tell him Gil from HVAC Uncensored sent you. All right. So remember, my friends over at BLUON are powering the HVAC industry. Next, last one. I'm going to do 3 tonight only because it's been goofy. Is my friends over at VETO. Guys, don't forget, we only have about 15 days left of VETO's 2-tier promotion. All right. You buy a bag and you're in tier 1. You can get the SBLD bag, sweet little bag that I have here. It's actually sitting behind me. Part of their tier 2 is going to be the DP3. You can go through and look at all the tiers. It's too much to explain in an audio read like this. But if you're looking to upgrade your tool bag or purchase a VETO before summer, now is the time to do it so you get a free bag. Sell it, give it to a friend, give it to your wife, whatever you decide to do. But why not get something free for the money that you were going to spend anyway? And whoever has enough VETO bags? I know I sure as hell don't, and I'm not even in the field anymore. So go check out my friends at VETO. I know I have a bunch of them to give away. Please bear with me. We're going to be giving them away. I finally found all of them, so I will be passing these things out here shortly. So remember, VETO is the Cadillac of tool bags. They're the best in the business. You get what you pay for, and these bags will last you a minimum of 5 years with that 5-year zero downtime warranty. They are the best. They last. They're convenient. They hold your tools. They protect all of that money that you need to do your trade every day. To me, it's a no-brainer. I would never use another tool bag. VETO is where it's at. All right? Go get yourself a VETO Pro Pack tool bags that work. Let's get on to the show. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States, and thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil Cavey Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I am your host, Gil Cavey Jr. Here we are, another Wednesday, another hump day, and another amazing show for you. I hope that everybody's had a great week so far. Let's just say hello to some people. Thank all of you for waiting in here. Mr. Freon Leon is the first person, as usual. My man was in here at 7 o'clock. Nobody was even close to him. Mr. HVAC Obsessed. Let's see who else we got in here. Mr. Jason Johnson, what is up, my brother? Try to get you all real fast so we can get this thing. Mr. Kraus, what is up, buddy? I think I saw Reliable. Adrian was in here. What's up, my man? I think I'm seeing everybody. If I missed somebody, I apologize. But thank you guys for being here and waiting around. Mr. Sam Andrew, what's up, Sammy? How you doing, buddy? Sam, it's got to be. So it was only the music on there. When this music plays, did everybody else hear it? Because when you listen to the audio, it's there. When I played it on the stream deck, it was a problem, but the audio that plays through the mixer, I haven't had a problem with. So real fast before I go, I'm going to move on till we start, but please put in the comments whether you heard that music or not. And Mr. Hughes, man, what's up? So, guys, I have a good show tonight. I know a lot of you are technicians, and some of this, is not going to be, when you're thinking about financials and owning a business, is probably not going to be your cup of tea. But I think it's something that you guys need to listen to. I know some of you have aspirations of maybe owning your own business one day. And a lot of people that listen to this are one-man bands, or they are managers, or they aspire to be a manager. And finances in business is huge. How you treat them affects everything. And to be able to have that conversation with somebody that does this for a living makes me excited, especially in my position. My job, I have to protect the reputation of Beltway. Also, I have to protect the finances to make sure that we are making money and we're not just, running in circles. That's how people all of a sudden take a look at the bank, and next thing you know, they're locking the doors and the company's shut down. So, the comment. Okay, you heard it. Thank you. So, without that, that's not my specialty, so I'm not going to talk about it. But guys, please help me put your hands together. Yeah, sorry. I wanted to make sure I didn't say his company wrong again if you told me. But please put your hands together and help me welcome Mr. Paul Neal. He is the owner of Vantage Point. I'm going to say financial, even though he messed up. I'll let him say it's capital. Commercial capital is what it should be. Anyway, please help me put your hands together for Mr. Paul. I butchered that, Mr. Paul. I apologize.
Hey, Gil, that's okay, man. I'm excited about being here. It's Vantage Point Commercial Capital, but hey, it's just us talking today. No big deal.
Yeah, sorry. I had my wife texting me from upstairs. I'm trying to move the phone over, so I apologize. But I do thank you so much for being here, and I do know that this is a topic that being a technician and working my way up, and then working my way into the office, I had to learn everything. Just because you're good at fixing stuff doesn't mean you can be a good business owner or know how to run a company. And I had to learn a lot. So when I hear things like this, when it comes to financials and stuff like that, I try to soak it up like a sponge because I know it's only going to benefit me in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, for sure. I mean, I know you have a lot of technicians on the show. You mentioned many of them have aspirations to ultimately maybe own their own shop, grow their business, eventually go that route. And, I think the HVAC world is an amazing place to do that for someone who has that ambition. Interestingly enough, my nephew just is in the HVAC world. He got in the business a couple of years ago. He went to community college down in Eastern Virginia, down towards the beach. Just graduated with his associate's degree, but he's been working in the field for a few years. And the thing that's exciting is my brother and I talk about that he can work for someone for his entire career and do amazing things. Or if he decides he wants to, he can be a one-man operation and get himself a truck, or he can build a business and scale it to whatever level he wants to. He works for a large company now that did just that. They're doing quite well. It's a great company. And so it's important, I think, for even the technician to be exposed to this sort of thing, because like you said, you run the business, there's a lot of lessons to learn. And the more you know, the more effective you're going to be, the better decisions you're going to make. And, it's a seed for the future. Perhaps it'll serve you in some way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I tell them even learning some of these principles will help them in their personal finances, making decisions on things like that. So,
Yeah.
some of these principles, whether it's business or personal, doesn't matter. So, I'm sorry that I skipped ahead, but if you want to give people a little bit about who you are, what Vantage does, and a little bit about you before we get going. I'm sorry I skipped over that.
Nah, man, we're rolling here, dude. So yeah, Vantage Point Commercial Capital. We focus on helping. We have a couple of missions. Essentially, we help business owners and individual investors as well that aren't business owners grow their wealth through real estate investing. So we have a lot of clients that aren't just the business owner. Many of them are employees, have jobs or whatnot, but they want to buy investment real estate, whether it's single family, multifamily, or commercial, to build their portfolios and diversify. One of the main areas we focus on as well is for that business owner that has a local presence and they're renting their space and they want to sort of accelerate their wealth creation. We show them how and educate them on how and the process of buying that space or building a space or whatnot, so they can enjoy some of the benefits long term in that process of ownership, equity appreciation, tax advantages, and control. So those are kind of the areas that we live in. They overlap because most people, even people that love what they do and they become excellent at it, as your listeners are focused on. That's why they're listening. They want to get better and better and better. They get to the point where they're making good income, and so then what do you do with it, right? You certainly don't want to spend it all, because if you spend it all, you got nothing to show for it, and you're just basically going paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
But what you want to do is build a future, and real estate investing is a great way to do that. I know you do some of that yourself. We briefly touched on that, and so that's what we do. We really like to help educate people and help lead them to wherever it is they want to go in the space, over time, so that they have sort of a glide path and a nest egg and a future beyond and outside of the business or the trade or whatever downstream.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I remember whoever reached out for you when we set this up. That was one of the things they said about not renting your building and owning it, and that really kind of struck a chord because we are going through that right now at Beltway.
Mhm.
So we are blowing out the seams at our original office. It's not a big enough space. We looked at other places to rent. They don't kind of fit what we need. It's either too much office, not enough warehouse, too much warehouse, not enough office. Then the prices are astronomical. But then it's like, hey, well, I'd love for us to be able to own something so that way it becomes an asset for Beltway versus, something that's, bringing us down that is gone like that once the lease is over. Uh, and yes, I've done, things in real estate, but to sit here and say that I'm some kind of real estate guru or know that would be a lie. I've just surrounded myself by good people that help me make decisions. Um, and I haven't even had a chance to ask some of them. So that's why I love that this is on the podcast, because I'm curious, and I know we probably can't get it all in a an hour long show, but I am curious to how some of those processes and how some of those things that maybe aren't common knowledge, that people are being able to achieve that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so taking that classic case of, buying the space, like you said, so your company has gotten to the point where, and we see this, there's a couple of triggers. One, you outgrow your space as a trigger. You have a lease coming due, and gosh, I hate to sign a lease for another space that, as expensive as that stuff is, and that you're just burning, thousands of dollars a month. I mean, you get benefit for it, obviously, because you're getting a space and you need that, and that's important. And obviously, building your business and cash flow is the most important thing. But there are huge opportunities that, think about it from this standpoint. Okay, so you're a homeowner. Many of your listeners are homeowners, and just forget about the investment side for a minute. But you buy a home because, well, for a number of reasons. Generally, when you start out, maybe your first, start working, you probably rent for a few years to kind of get your sea legs and get some income coming in and all that, and some stability. But at some point you're like, okay, we're going to have to live somewhere for the next, hopefully long time, right? And number of years. And, eventually you probably will trade up and change and all that. But you're like, okay, well, inflation is going like this every year, going up. Home prices are going up every year. Rent's going up every year. And, you rent 2, 3, 4 years. And when you're done, you've got nothing to show for it. Right. So you buy your house because now you can lock in a house at a certain price. And now basically you've got this fixed debt payment for as long as you want it, and maybe even refinance it later when rates get better.
I hope
But
so.
you locked in the price. Yeah, right. You locked in the price and at one point, but now it's going to keep appreciating value. So you're going to be getting equity or free cash, basically. Every payment you make serves as almost a forced savings program, because now part of it goes to pay down that principal balance. So the value of your property is increasing over time. Now, granted, 1 year to the next, it's hard to say for sure, but over the long run, right, it's going to grow. And then the balance of your loan is coming down every single month. You get tax advantages because now some of that interest on the mortgage is tax deductible, where rent is not tax deductible. You get control. So you can, if you want to renovate a bathroom, you can do that. If you want to redo your kitchen, you can do that. And you're going to put money in it, but you're going to increase the value of it, number one, and you're going to increase the qualitative or your personal experience on, hey, your wife's going to love it because now you've got these granite countertops, and so you're checking that box, right?
Yeah.
So you're in control of that. Nobody can say we're not going to renew your lease. Nobody can come and say, oh, this year we think your house, we're going to raise your debt amount on the house because we wanted to, and the market has gone up. So you've locked all that in, you build equity, you get all those advantages, control. And then now, oh, by the way, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you decide, hey, I want a bigger house. Now you've got this big chunk of equity that you weren't really planning on saving. Because most people sort of spend up to their income level, right? They don't save a lot, but you've had this forced savings program that now you can tap into and use it, sell that house, or even do an equity line on it, but sell the house, take that money and move it to something else. And so now you might have struggled in the beginning to get a down payment for your first house, but the next one, it's baked into your home, so it's already there. So when you think about like owning your business space, it's not that different. You lock in a price on a building, or you build a building to suit what you need, and every payment you make is going to pay down the balance. So you're building equity. It's going to appreciate over time. There's some great tax advantages for owning your own building. For instance, your company becomes a renter of the building that your real estate business owns. So basically you set up a business to own the real estate, but so you're paying rent to yourself basically, and it allows you to get some tax advantages through depreciation that you wouldn't get as a renter. Nobody's going to show up on your door at lease renewal time and say, you know what, Gil, we think we want to use this space for something different, and so we're not going to renew the lease. Or, hey, Gil, we're going to raise your lease rates by 15% because this whole area has grown so much. It's in such high demand. Everybody wants this flex warehouse space. And so you're welcome to stay, but it's going to cost you a lot more. So you got to deal with that. Or like one of my clients, he owned a pizza restaurant, built his business locally, and put $80,000 in the kitchen, renovating the kitchen so he could get it just the way he wanted to. He's an immigrant. It was really an awesome business. It's been about 8 years. One day the owner knocked on the door and said, I'm selling the building. So what's he going to do now? He's renting, he's leasing. He's like, okay, well, where am I going to move my pizza business to? I put all this money in the kitchen, kind of building it out the way I want. And fortunately for him, the owner gave him the first right of refusal to buy the building, and we were able to help him do that. So it locked it in. But it's not always that easy, right? Sometimes it's like, well, too bad, so sad. Go find a place to move your pizza restaurant to. You got 90 days and you got to let all your clients know. And oh, by the way, your pizza clients aren't probably going to move very far. You know, there's a pizza place on about every other corner. So good luck.
Well, can't there also be stipulations that even though he redid that kitchen, he can't take anything with him?
Yeah.
Generally
when you improve a lease space, it's called a leasehold improvement, and it stays with the property. So you're improving somebody else's property on your dime. And people say, well, they'll include it in the lease. Well, they might, but you're paying for it because they're going to increase the lease rent amount, or they're going to extend the term out 5-7 years or whatever. So you're paying for it. But here's the other thing that people don't think about. Like, I've got a client now. He's in the remodeling business, and he's got a small HVAC company as well that he started. He decided he wanted to build a steel building, and so he's building 12,000 square feet. He's going to occupy 8,000 feet of the 12, and he's got 2 tenants already lined up to take the other 2 spaces. So with the market rents in the area, the rent he's going to generate from the 2 tenants is going to almost carry the entire freight of the mortgage of this brand new building. And so he's leaving a rent situation into a building that's going to appreciate. The tenants are going to pay down the freight on the mortgage, and he's going to get the tax advantages of that. He's not going to pay taxes most likely on their rent because he's depreciating the building. So it's just a win across the board. And oh, by the way, when his business continues to grow, like your business is growing, busting at the seams, he can choose to not renew one of the tenants' leases in 3 years or 5 years, and he can expand into that space instead of having to go find another space. So he's already got it built in.
It's so funny you say that because Ryan, the owner of Beltway, my buddy who owns it, we just talked today about a space that we saw that's kind of prime to where we are. And I want to say this one is like 10, 11,000 square feet. And it has some businesses on the front are the same thing that we would be able to rent out. Some of them already have leases that are extended. So we would take over the lease if we bought it, and their rent is enough that it would be great for us. And then if we do want to take that space, granted, we'd have to put some work into it because it's not set up for what we want, but we could make it work. And the location is good because you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I've always thought too is, well, it's always location. But if I can find a location that can also eat up part of my marketing bill, if I can put a sign up that's near a main highway or a main road, now I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and my budget's going down, and my P&L is a little happier when I look at it. Those numbers start to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just smiling because I have a good friend in the HVAC business, and he's cobbled together a pretty big business over the last 5 or 6 years by buying other businesses. And he's got an amazing story. His name's Chuck, but he just recently bought space on a major highway. It's not a highway like I-95. It's a like Route 1. So you got businesses on the highway, right? It's got, I don't know, 50, 60,000 cars a day go through there. I don't know the exact number, but
it's so funny you say that because the building I'm looking at is on Route 1.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's so funny you said that.
No, it's fun. Yeah. So the funny thing is though, so he's got like 5 acres. He's got the building. He's got some space that he can build another structure on later. But the coolest thing is there's a billboard already on the property So he's going to use that, and he's going to line all of his trucks up, right there on the highway. So everyone's going to see it. So he was spending, I think he told me, $4,000 or $5,000 a month just in marketing on like billboards and things like that. He's like, I won't have to do that anymore because now it's on my property. And so it's a win-win-win for him, because that's, marketing is marketing, right? If you could do it for free, then oh my gosh. So just like you're thinking, yeah, I mean, it's positioning is great, and location. It depends on the type of business. If you're HVAC, you don't have retail customers probably coming in, so you have maybe a little more flexibility than maybe a small restaurant or coffee shop or a brew pub or something, which is great because you can find maybe a little better prices than that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But if you can couple it with advertising, it's worth paying more to get the location for that exposure, because it's baked into just your presence.
Yeah. I've heard other people, so a family friend, he's like an uncle, but he's not a real uncle. He was in the Marine Corps with my dad, but he's a real estate guru, and he always says he's big on this thing. Not always, but he says if you find a piece of land, you can buy the land, then use the land to, what does he say, to mortgage to build something on. I forget the way he says it, and
Yeah.
I'm having a brain fart, but he said to keep that option, because a lot of times in the long run, you're gonna pay a lot less than what you would have paid for something that was already there, and you're having your money's working for you versus, he explains it so much better. But have you heard something like that where people buy land and then they can mortgage the land to build the building or whatever?
Yeah. So, land, if you can get land, I think he's talking about if you have equity in the land, then that equity in the land would serve as your we would call your down payment or your equity injection into the construction to build the building. Yeah, that happens all the time. So if you find the ideal piece of land, and maybe you're not ready yet to build the building or whatever, but you can buy it and you can start building equity in that, as long as you have cash flow, right? Because land, you can't rent it, you can't move there, right? So it has to be some free cash flow. But if you can do that, then as that piece of property appreciates, or if you pay cash or however you do it, then that is definitely your equity injection in the build. But the other thing too is with a profitable business, what a lot of people don't realize is that you go to your local bank, and the local bank is going to want 20-25% down payment on the project, but you can get into an owner occupied or owner user commercial space for as little as 0% down. 0 to 5 is pretty common. 10 is really common. And so it changes the dynamics a lot, because that holds a lot of people back, thinking I got to come up with some massive down payment. Because I mean, if you think it's a $1 million building, we just pick a number, 20% is $200,000. And so that $200,000 could be working capital or something, it could be reserves. You might use it for payroll or inventory or whatever. And if you put it in the bricks and mortar, you are literally tying it up. So we always suggest, even with people that are capable and they have the cash, to really think twice about pumping it all into the down payment when you don't have to.
Yeah.
And then you can deploy in other things. You can use it for other things. You can use it maybe to buy a competitor. You can use it for working capital. You can use it for just a slush fund. Cash is cash. Cash is king. It's good to have it. So it puts you in the driver's seat, gives you a sense of control and whatnot. Because there's like five. I mean, I like to say it's like 5 ways to buy a commercial building. It's about 5 and 5 only. One is cash. You can write a check if you're capable. Not many people do that, but not really advisable.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Sometimes,
wouldn't do that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, for a whole list of reasons. But the two, sometimes the sellers will finance it. Some are part of a transaction, and sometimes that can be a great way to go, because the terms are generally pretty favorable to you, the buyer. You can go the conventional route, like I mentioned, where you go to the local bank and they want 20-25% down, and their terms are shorter, and they have a lot of what we call covenants and a lot of restrictions and things like that. So it's generally not the best way to go. You can sometimes get the best rate, but you sort of pay the price on the other side. There are private investors that will fund these, anything from like joint ventures, venture funds, insurance companies, things like that will fund them. And then you have the SBA has a couple of programs, the 7A and the 504, which are great programs if they're coupled with the right funders, investors, lenders. Because some places really butcher the programs, but there are some preferred lenders that really know how to do it and make it, a nice process. So there's different ways to skin the cat. It's a little bit different than like buying a house, which is all sort of pretty boilerplate, pretty standard. You've got Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac that kind of writing the ticket for everybody. But my biggest thing would say, look, you got to just be open to the idea and the possibility. If you at some point you want to own a business, that it might be possible to do it. Or if you do own a business and you've got a lease, it's something that you should explore, because you're literally maybe walking on your gold mine every day. And instead of having one business that's doing well, you might have two, and the second one just grows passively just because you're existing. Right. Because
Yeah.
your business has to live somewhere, just like your family has to live somewhere. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And that makes sense. And the whole cash, and people don't realize, just so some of you technicians out there, you guys see the videos I post and the size of Beltway. We're probably 35, a little under 40 employees. You have to have cash flow. Our payroll is $55,000-$60,000 a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So 200 grand doesn't go. So that means, okay, well, so we're good for a month, so that's why definitely. Well, I heard this. They always say, rich people spend other people's money.
Mm.
They let their money, they buy assets or let it grow in money market accounts or whatever, and then they borrow money. And people are like, why do they borrow money? Because they can, and their money's working for them while they're spending other people's money. And that's so, whether that's buying a commercial property, buying a house in your personal life or in your business life, I feel like that's a huge lesson that I've learned. Not to go off track, but being young and dumb, you mess your credit up. I got it fixed. And then it's like, well, if I don't need to use it, I'm not going to. And then my older brother, who has got a doctorate in finance and business, he's like, that's stupid. Don't do that. I think that's what he got his doctorate in finance. I know he's got his doctorate, but I refuse to call him doctor. But he was like, no, he's like, nowadays, if you ever want to do anything, you have to use your credit, and you have to use it wisely. Let your money work for you. Something as dumb as 2% back on groceries and gas, things that you're going to do anyway. But when it comes to the business side, I think that like I'm good with it, but I give it to, so I'm 41. Ryan, the owner of the company, my buddy, is 29, but he is brilliant. He is very, very smart. Like, he can read a book in an hour and recite it back, and I couldn't tell you the cover of it. I'm more of a, you show me and I'll remember how to do it kind of person. But I know we looked through some of the SBA things, and we have been acquiring companies. So getting a building has to be next, because of, like I said, we just don't have enough space. But it's making sure that it stays a positive thing and we don't make the wrong decision by doing something that's, ill-advised. And next thing you know, yes, we have a building, but now we just stretched ourselves so thin. If, God forbid, doesn't something happen, we opened a plumbing department. Um, trying to find vans around here is hard. We just did a deal through Enterprise. Thank God that we had to put no money down. So I thought about that when you were talking about sometimes you don't have to put any money down. So making some of these decisions is stressful, because it's crazy that you can make the decision now and you don't feel the effects of that wrong decision until maybe 5 years down the road. And it's like, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. You definitely have to be intelligent about the choices. I'm going to step back and come back to this idea of other people's money. In just a simple example. So for instance, the way you would look at return on money or return on investment, just simply, is the amount of money you're investing in something versus the growth of that money over time, right? So the more money you put in for something to get a return, generally the less return you're going to get. So when it comes to like down payment, if you put 5% down, let's just say, on $1 million building, you're putting $50,000 in, and that $1 million building appreciates at, well, just to make the math easy, it's probably not 5% a year, it's probably 3 or 4, but to make the math easy, if that building appreciates or grows in value by 5% the first year, now it's worth $50,000 more than you paid for it, right? So you invested 50 as a down payment one time, and now it's worth $1,050,000. Well, the next year it's going to grow another 5%. And again, to make the math easy, let's just say it's worth $1,100,000, right? And then the next year, $1,150,000. It's actually more because it compounds. But
Yeah.
but you only invested 50. Now, if you had invested 20% down, you're investing 200,000 down to get the same equity appreciation. So the return is much lower. And on the other end of that, if you can invest 0% down, you basically got no money in it. You have an asset that's appreciating and you didn't put anything in it. And so that's, we're approaching an infinite return. So you always want to try to minimize your exposure or personal investment of your money into something to get the return. That also allows you to diversify your cash and other investments, so you're not putting all your eggs into one basket. So another reason why we don't generally suggest 20% down. Now, on to your comment about, having to make a good choice and being wise about it and running a business. And I completely concur. I've had 6 businesses in my life, and cash flow. I've had large payrolls like that at times, and you have to be very mindful of it. So when you're buying a building or considering that, then I was telling my daughter this the other day, because there was I forget what it was, but we were talking about this idea of margin, right? And what I mean by margin, I mean, like a safety valve on everything you do. Like if you have to be across town in 20 minutes for an appointment, you don't leave with 20 minutes to go, because you got no room for error, right? You can't like, there can't be like a bridge up or something. You got no margin. So you build in an extra 10 minutes. You're like, okay, I'm going to leave 30 minutes in advance for this appointment, 20 minutes. And the same thing, like, she's in college. I'm like, you can't wait till the last minute to study for all your tests, because you might get sick that day and you might not feel like, you might not retain anything, even though you might be a good crammer. You got no margin. There's no room for error. Yeah. Everything has to go perfectly, right? And so the same thing applies, Gil, like when buying a building. And again, that's why what we do is we do a complete financial analysis, and we want to understand where you are. We got a 53 question questionnaire that digs deep into the business, where it is, how it's broken down, where's the revenue coming from, where do you want to go, try to identify potential challenges. Then we look at the cash flow, the historical cash flow, and then we use some ratios and numbers to try to determine, okay, is there enough margin here? And it's not just, hey, I want to buy a building or build a building at this price or whatever. The question is, does it make sense? Is there room for error? Do you have reserves? Is there backup? Worst case scenario, what could happen? Best case scenario, what could happen? And then the most likely scenario, what's probably going to happen, somewhere in the middle, right? But we want to walk through that with a potential owner, so you understand this going in, so it's eyes wide open. And so I tell people, and this, whether you're buying a house or a building or whatever, don't fly in by the seat of your pants and try to get a deal in 30 days, or wait till your lease on your apartment or your lease on your business rent is going to be due for renewal in 30 days. Start thinking about this 6 months out or 12 months out. And that way you can do some due diligence and, align yourself with some people that can help educate you, so what's available, what you can afford and all that before you dive right in. And that way you've done it in a way that makes sense. It's smart. You can feel good about it. And, are there risks? Sure. There's a risk every time we leave our house, but at least it's a it's a calculated, well thought out decision that you can feel good about. And the odds are it's going to work out in your favor because it was done in a way that, makes sense. And besides, and then you can pull other people in and get counsel from other people. Like we always suggest, we bring in a CPA, your attorney, if you have one, all the parties that are going to be involved. So everyone can weigh in on the decision. So it's a clear decision and there's no, like uncertainty in the process.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because we actually, the fact that we didn't want to rush into something, we renewed our lease in our building like 6 months ago for 2
Yeah.
years, because we knew that we couldn't make a decision right now. We're getting ready to go into summertime. We can't be trying to find a new building, and we started looking. And worst case scenario, we had our attorney look over our lease. We can sublease it. Worst case scenario, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if we had to do that, we could, or we could use both spaces. It's not like, having too much space right now is not a problem for us, so we could figure something out if we needed to. But yeah, that's why we did that. And people have told me, they're like, oh, well, if you're going to get a new place, then why did you renew the lease? Because we need a place now and I don't know where we're going. So that's why.
Well, and if you build, it's 12 months out once you find the land. So, I mean, you got to get land and plans and all that. And, but the cool thing is you and your listeners are in an amazing business. I mean, here's the thing. You're not in some fad of a business that's here today, gone tomorrow. You're not going to be Amazoned out of business, right? I mean, people have, you talk about summer, right? I mean, AC units are blowing up left and right, right? I mean, wintertime, where's my heat? I'm freezing here. It's like, they're not going to fix it from China. They're not going to fix it from California. They need Gil and the team to show up and come fix it. And maybe I need my basement encapsulated or my crawl space or whatever. There's so many things that aren't going away. Houses and, real estate's getting older and older and older, which has more opportunity, So you guys are in a business that if you do a good job and you serve your clients and you got a great reputation, which I know you do, and for the technicians and the owners listening to this that aren't affiliated with you but have their own business, that's one of the most critical things you can do. Because if you can build a client base that appreciates you because you did a great job and you're respectful and you show up on time and you do a great job and you educate and inform them, they're going to call you back and they're going to refer you out to people. And as you build this base, now you've got a business that's very valuable. And I tell my nephew all the time, even if you don't own the business, you get those great reviews. You serve those clients because you're going to be so much more valuable to the existing organization you're part of, that they're going to want, they can't help but to promote you and help you do better. And in worst case, if they don't recognize you can go somewhere else or go out and do your own thing. But that's the secret to whatever kind of business it is, right? You want to give great service and treat people the way you want to be treated and serve them. And it comes back, man, many times fold. And when you have a business like that, it's easier to make a decision to a long-term decision like buying a building than some transient business. And, one of the things we look at as a lender today, believe it or not, is not just your credit, your personal credit and your business credit, but we look at reviews. We want to know what your customers are saying about you, because no one wants to lend money today. Everyone's living in a glass house to a company that treats all their customers poorly, right? Because it's a character, it's a reflection of character, it's a reflection of short-sightedness. And hey, everyone gets a bad review or two at a time. I get that. That's not what I'm talking about. But consistent, you can tell this is nothing but a disaster. There's equity. When you're getting good reviews for yourself and your company, you're building equity into your future, not just the company. You're helping the company win, you're helping yourself win, and you're positioning everybody to be in a better place tomorrow than they are today, which then serves this idea of investing in real estate in the business, which is a long-term play, right? It's not a short-term thing. Don't buy it if you're going to be in and out in a year. Don't buy it if you think you're going to, double your money tomorrow. I'll be the last guy to promise get rich quick. It doesn't exist. And anyone that's selling that is selling a pack of lies. And you might temporarily look at Bitcoin, right? You can make a lot of money shortly, and you might as well just go to the casino. But if you're doing the business things right and you're becoming a master at your trade and then a master at running your business, if you scale to that level, like you've moved Gil into running the business, that's a whole nother level. It's a whole nother level of education and training and experience. And then the next logical step is you've got excellence, you've got permanence. Let's stake a flag in the ground and say, okay, now we own this thing. This is our little piece of the rock, right? And we're serving our community, our families, our employees, our team, and we're here to stay.
Yeah, and the money and the positive things I think about it. So before I go into that is, and now, not saying that I don't make decisions and I don't trust my gut, but I have came to where I base my decisions off of facts, not feeling. Yeah, I gotta have, if I have a bad feeling, then I'm gonna look into it. But I always say people lie, numbers don't. So that when you look at them and they're a certain thing, and if the numbers don't work, then okay, well maybe this is not the right deal. I may
Yeah.
love this space. It may be a dream space, but the numbers don't work. It's not good for us. Just like this customer has it's an install that is $20,000, but they want it for 20, but I sell for 30. Okay, well maybe that's not my customer then. It's okay. And you have to think about things that way. And I forgot where I was going with that, but uh about making those decisions. And I feel like some people, one thing that I never wanted to happen in business, and we could be bigger than we are right now, but it was my idea like 2 years ago to pump the brakes. And I was like, hey, we're growing too fast. I don't want this house to topple over on itself. Let's reassure this foundation so that we know when this thing starts to grow that it can handle it. And I feel like a lot of people get caught up in the moment and they rush into those things because they have horrible guidance, or they see the fake Facebook people that, I have a $40 million company. And then when you get somebody to show their books, they're a $10 million company. And it's like, hey, just be happy to be a $10 million company. Why do you have to lie? And people take horrible advice and then make decisions and end up losing everything. I hear those stories too much, and I won't let that happen here. I refuse to let that happen. So
No, that's wisdom too. I mean, I call it insta sham. Yeah, everyone's putting on their best face and double, triple. Yeah, I mean, you grow a business so fast, you have to take time to consolidate, get your systems in place, and get your leadership in place. And as you grow fast, this, you've experienced it. The systems break, and you have to re-engineer the systems because now you're a larger company. You're doing different things, and it's a continual process. And yeah, you can certainly outrun your headlights for sure in business. And greed takes a lot of business owners down. They think that they can shoot for the moon, and again, it's people way overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they way underestimate what they can do in 5. So everyone thinks they're going to shoot the moon in year 1. It doesn't, and they make poor decisions sometimes. Either they don't keep going because it didn't happen fast enough, or whatever, or maybe they hit a volt, they hit the mother lode vein of, gold vein, and things just are popping so fast. It could be they're in the right place at the right time with something happening in the economy. And we saw that in real estate, and when COVID and, the Fed artificially, baked the rates down to 2 and 3%. That was, that wasn't really anyone's skill, buying a house or selling a house. Then it just you're in the right place at the right time. So,
yeah, a little luck.
yeah, so it's not, but it wasn't sustainable. And so, no, I think what you said is very wise. You do have to pump the brakes from time to time, consolidate, and it's a lesson because you can outgrow your own knowledge and experience level, and that's when it becomes a problem, right? Your business can grow faster than what you know. And as John Maxwell has famously said, it's like in the law, you're the law of the lid. You're the leader. You're the lid of your, whether it's the company of you. If it's Fred out in the field there, or was it Freon Leon? Was that his name?
Yeah.
He's still listening. I love that name. That's awesome. He might be an employee, but he's still a business of one because he's independent. I mean, it's his thing, whether, again, he works for somebody or grows a business with 100 employees. he's going to be the limit to that. And so, yeah, very wise, man.
John, thank you. John Maxwell seminar was very expensive, but one of the best things that I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. And I also tell people this, like, as we grow and people are like, man, I can't believe you guys aren't doing more revenue. And I ask them, I'm like, okay, well, if you know about business, would you take a $5 million company that makes, 25% profit, or would you take a $10 million company that makes 5% net profit? And they're like, oh man, well, I'd take that 10 million. I'm like, wrong answer. I would take that $5 million because that $5 million company is making more money and they're going to probably be at 10, when the $10 million company goes out of business. Because if you're at 5%, you have no cash flow, you know, um, you have no culture because you can't put money back into it. So that number is not the only thing to worry about. That's what happens when a lot of people start out is they're running in circles. They don't charge enough money. Next thing you know, they look in the bank and they're like, oh shit, I haven't made anything. So it's all those things come into play. And I know I took us off on a rabbit hole in a totally different direction. I apologize, but
no, pricing's critical. I mean, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're in business to make money, so then you can do good things with the money. If you have thin margins like that, everyone, you can't really compete in the world anymore on lowest price. I mean, you got Walmart and you got Amazon, right? And if you try to race down to the bottom, and be the cheapest provider, somebody will always come in lower than you. And the big guys like that can afford to take a hit for a while and run you out of business. But to your point, you can't invest. You said something really awesome there. You can't invest in culture, and culture is really what builds a business. It's the way we do things. It's the culture, and you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your team. Talk about the John Maxwell seminar, man. If you're a technician listening to this, you need to do whatever you can do to raise that level of education. And if you're an owner, work on that culture, invest in it, invest in your team, because you're going to attract the people to your organization that fit into that culture. So if you have this culture of, we're value add, we're serving as many people as we can, doing the best we can, and everyone's working for that mission, you've got your mission defined, then you're going to have an amazing culture. If it's like, cheat, steal, and move fast, I forget what they said, just wham, bam, thank you, man, we're moving on, next deal, then you're going to have that culture as well within your own organization, and it will bite you at some point. But that stuff takes money. You're right. You can't get the best employees and the best systems and technology if you're on razor thin margins. Who cares what the top line number is? That's irrelevant. You can't spend it. I mean, it's like, man, it's like turning, I make $1 on every deal. I got to do a lot of deals to make money, a livable wage, where if I can make $10 or $100 or $1,000 on every deal, I can work so much less and give better service to my customers and my team, because now I'm making money. So profit is good and profit is necessary.
yeah, that's why we do the whole, quality over quantity when it comes to calls. And we set all of our techs, I give them a revenue goal. I need that truck to make X a week, break it down per day. And I say, hey, if you can do that in 2 calls a day, then you only have to run 2 calls a day. But if it takes you 5, then you have to run 5. So you dictate how many hours you work, what time you get off. So that way they know that they have a dog in this fight, and that it's not just, me just cracking the whip, but you're going to keep running calls until I say you don't have to. And,
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference. And one thing that went the world, and I keep going off topic. I'm horrible tonight, but we have one thing about the Baltimore, Washington metro area is there's a lot of big boys here. There's a lot of big players that eat up. Normally they have to fill up and then it trickles down to everybody else. And then we also have BG&E, which they, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to compete with them because they have every customer's information because
Right.
you buy your gas and electric from them. But there was a guy in this area who it's almost, it would be like your favorite sports team signing one of the top free agents. And one of the big guy, he left and he ended up coming to us, and we asked him like, "Hey man, like what made you come to us and not go to one of the other big guys?" And he was like, "Because I didn't think companies did stuff the way you do things." He's like, "I know that I probably could have got more dollar per hour somewhere else." He's like, "But I want to be able to go and see my kids and be able to enjoy that time. And the way that you guys do things here, I can make less money now, and I rather grow with this place." And that was just reassuring that when you question what you're doing, sometimes that's just the icing on the cake. Like, I know we're doing the right thing. What we're doing is working. We don't need to make any adjustments. As far as culture wise, it's just pedal to the metal when you hear things like that. So it's it's awesome trying to, these big guys, when they just they're just numbers, and I would never ever let that happen. And I feel like,
Well,
go ahead. I was
I
gonna
was
say the
gonna say
last 45 minutes we didn't even talk about any of your specialties. It's been me
that
taking us off these different in the
no,
woods.
that's all. I mean, I could talk business owners and just the culture all day long. I mean that's one of the distinct advantages that a small business has and can capitalize on versus a big business. I mean, you basically outlined it right there with your example. Why would someone come to work for a small business versus a big business that might dangle a few more bucks in front of them? Is because of the culture, the team, the organization, the philosophy, treating people well and not just a number. I mean, this stuff is valuable. People, I think today, Gil, more than ever in this world of like the internet and, again, Instasham and social media and all that, anti-social media, that they're more disconnected than ever. People are looking for connection and authenticity and other people that they can look in the eye and hey, we make an agreement. We're simpatico here, right? Versus all this fake crap in the world that's just accelerated and nothing's real. Now we got AI and nothing's real now. So that culture is uber valuable for you and for anyone listening that wants to grow a business. And it does exist. And if you can't find it, then maybe you ought to create it, yourself. Quite honestly.
Which is how we came about. That's how Beltway came about, is that very reason, is
Mm,
me meeting with Ryan, say we want to create a place, and he already started it, but we want to create a place that if we were technicians, we would want to work there. And I
yeah.
didn't know it could happen, but so far so good. And
Yeah.
we're going in the right direction. So yeah,
I'd say so.
it's been awesome. I just forgot what I was just getting ready to I forgot what I was getting ready to say. I had something that I wanted to throw out there, and then I totally forgot what it was. Damn it. Um I won't remember. But real fast, because I know we're almost at an hour. So I guess go over what you guys offer again. So anybody out there listening that, would need your services, for one, how can they get in touch with you? We'll do that at the end. But, what exactly, some like details, as far as obviously we know about buying, a building and you helping them,
Mhm.
guide them. And to do that, what are some of the other things that somebody could utilize your services for?
Yeah, I mean that's what we do a whole lot of. The other thing we do is, like I said, we do investment property financing. So if someone wants to buy single family homes as investments, or maybe they want to renovate them, and there's a lot of flipping out there, we finance a lot of that. Also, we do a lot of multifamily, 5+ units, for investors that want to grow their portfolio and diversify. So pretty much anything real estate finance related, we do. And I think I did my first real estate finance transaction in 1998. So we've been around the block. We've seen a few things, and whether it's owner occupied, owner user, or investment property, excuse me, we follow pretty much the same 5-step process with everybody, and that is investigate, underwrite, evaluate, educate and consult, and then facilitate. And basically what that means is, hey, investigate. We're going to ask a lot of questions to understand your situation. What are you trying to do? Where are you now? Where are you trying to go? What are your financials? What are your credit and all that? So we can understand. And from there, we can sort of underwrite, okay, what options are available to you. We don't believe in sort of the one tool in the toolbox that's got to fix every problem, right? I mean, you carry the bags that you're selling and the special you're giving away carries a lot of different tools because there's a lot of different situations, right? Well, that's the way we approach it. So by underwriting and understanding, then we can evaluate and come back and say, all right, now, Gil, based on all that, we're going to educate you on the options that are available in the market, which, oh, by the way, is a very fluid market because in case you haven't noticed, real estate properties go up, interest rates go up and down. The banks do different. It's every day it's something new in the financial markets, which is interesting, keeps us busy and it keeps me engaged. But what we may have suggested 6 weeks ago might be different today. And so we educate so you understand the pros and cons of all the options, and then we facilitate and represent. So we can fund a lot of the loans ourselves. A lot of times we work as a facilitator. We work with other funders nationally, whether it's community banks or private money or private equity or whatever, just whatever makes sense for your situation to help you achieve that end goal that you said you wanted to achieve. And again, we discuss it to make sure it really is what you want to achieve. And so we're really about education and understanding, and it's a client relationship. And most of the time, we only get paid if we fund a deal. And so a lot of times our investors pay us directly. So the clients don't even have to pay us in many cases. It just depends on the deal and the opportunity. But yeah, so it's really about adding value, education, and helping them expand. Because my favorite thing is to take someone who is in that space or getting in that space and help them over a period of time, watch their portfolio grow, watch their equity grow, watch their experience grow. And it just opens up, so many opportunities for
I got
them.
addicted to it. Like,
Yeah.
when I started adding things and making money, like, it was like I didn't want to spend it. Like I got addicted to watching it and wanting to learn. Okay, it's great to see the money go up, but why?
Mhm.
And stuff like that. It gets to a point where I like to look at it and be like, this is great. It makes me feel good. It puts you in a good mood knowing, that kind of stuff happens. Um,
Yeah.
I'll ask you if you still have a few more minutes. I know we had so two things. One is, how has it been getting to advise people and on buying these properties right now with the horrible economy, interest rates being, dog crap. And then how have you been advising them about that? And then the other thing is, we have seen some people, and I know that this is big trouble. And I will never say the person's name. It's not mine, but they were getting like SBA loans using some of that money to go to try buy a property. And I'm like, that is called money laundering, my friend. You cannot do that. So
Mm-mm.
I
Bad
don't
news.
know if they followed through with it, but um, yeah, just letting people know that that's a no-no. It's got to be your
Yeah.
money, your funds. You cannot borrow money to do that. That's not okay.
Yeah. Like SBA funds are strictly for like owner user space, not to go out and buy investment properties, for sure. How are we advising people? So Gil, we focus on cash flow. So we look at property appreciation and tax advantages as a bonus. We think that's going to happen over the long run because if you look back, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, the house you're in today, unless you built it, was a lot cheaper 20 years ago than it is today, right? So over the long run, they're not making any more land. Population is growing significantly. And so there's more demand on that. Even today, with interest rates have gone up, like in real estate, like residential real estate investment, the biggest challenge we see right now is inventory because there's not a lot of properties on the market because a lot of people locked in these, 2.5%, 3% interest rates. And unless they have to move for some reason, or they just choose, they're moving in and out of the area, they aren't selling. So you have a lot less inventory on the market than we should normally have, which is sustaining property values. But at the end of the day, cash flow is what we look at. So we want to know at today's interest rates, will this property yield you enough cash flow that it makes sense? And we have back to this margin thing. Essentially, what we look at is we want the rents that it can generate to be about 25% greater than the mortgage payment and the taxes and insurance and everything, minimum generally as a rule.
Mhm.
There's some opportunities to maybe to be a little bit less than that based on certain situations, but that's kind of optimal. We all sort of know that interest rates have peaked. They're coming down based on the state of the economy, inflation. And the other thing, without getting too technical, what the Fed did in COVID was they bought a lot, billions of dollars, $4 billion or $1 trillion actually of treasury notes and mortgage-backed securities, which is where the interest rates are derived. By doing that, they were able to drive the interest rates down and keep them down. Okay. So again, without getting too technical, well, they bought these and they held them on the Fed's, what they call balance sheet, right? So just kind of moved it all out of the market. Well, since late 2021, early 22, they started dumping these treasuries and mortgage-backed securities back into the bond market. That, coupled with higher inflation numbers, caused interest rates to go where they are now, or where they went. They peaked about 6-7 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, and they've started gently coming down. And the Fed just announced last week that as of June, they're going to stop dumping all these bonds, because they've almost dumped as much as they bought back into the market. So they're almost back to sort of net zero on their balance sheet. They still have some, but as a percentage of the GDP, they're getting pretty comfortable with that. So that in and of itself will improve interest rates, and the fact that the inflation numbers in a lot of areas are starting to come down. So long story short, so we hit this peak in rates, and they are coming down. So if the property cash flows today in today's numbers, then in 12, 24, 36 months, when rates are better and you can refinance it, it'll cash flow even more. So regardless of what appreciation does, we don't care in the short run. If you're buying a property to go in your investment portfolio, the tenants are going to pay the mortgage for you. They're going to pay the taxes and insurance for you, and you're going to have a margin left over as free cash flow that you can put in the bank or use to invest for something else. And oh, by the way, if that $300,000 house happens to appreciate 10% over the next 5 years, then you just picked up another 30,000, there in value, while your tenants are paying down the loan, right? And so that's how we evaluate it. That's how we advise. Does it cash flow? Does it make sense? And if not, you might want to, back to your point, it's not emotion, it's numbers. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a pure numbers play. It's like, okay, doesn't make sense. To make the cash flow work, you have to put more money down into it. Do you really want to put this much money in this property when you could be using it somewhere else, to
Yeah.
make it happen?
And that's like even in my situation, like I was telling you with this house, I don't have a great interest rate. It's like 6.5, but I got a house for half of what it was supposed to be. So, the house is worth 1.4 million. I paid 630. Yeah, it sucks. My payment's a little higher now, but when interest rates come down and I can refinance, I'm going to be the one sitting back laughing because the equity that I already have in my house, my payment's going to go down. And now, if I want, I can pull those funds and go buy a rental property or go do something else with it. Like, I looked at it from all the options and I know that I'm going to make out in the long run. You can always refinance an interest rate. You can't change what you paid for something. So that's
That's
what I
right.
tell people. Just educate yourself and um, try to look at it, even be devil's advocate on situations. I try to look at everything through different avenues. And this house, yes, I need it for my family, but it was an investment, and I know that I'm going to make out in this deal. I just got to eat that shit sandwich of paying a $5,000 mortgage payment until I can, until I can,
Yeah.
refinance. But I knew that I could. I don't want to, but I know that if I do that for a little bit, it's going to make out in the long run.
That's right. That's right. You're making an investment. You're a little pain now, but yeah, they'll come down. You better refinance that in a year or two, and the payment will come way down. And to your point, the property is the property. It's still worth 1.4, and in 2 years from now, it's probably worth 1.5. And so, even if it isn't, it will in 5 years. It will be worth more. So, at the end of the day, you locked in the price of the property on a fixed 30-year term that is only going to get better. It's not going to get worse because they can't raise the rate on you, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of young people don't get it. The ones that came through COVID and saw these rates at 2.5%, 3%, now they see them in the sixes, and they're like, "That's crazy." No, actually, 6, 7% is about average what it's been over the last 30 years. So that was an anomaly. I think we're going to get back down in the mid fives. And they'll have some other programs, but yeah, it's you got to do it. I mean, timing is never perfect for anything you do in life. If you wait for everything to be perfect, you won't do anything. You'll never leave your house, right? So, yeah, I think that was a good choice. I'd have done that if I were you.
Yeah, no. So I think it'll be good, but we're way past, Paul. I want to thank you so much for coming on. I really, really enjoy these conversations. And I know that the guys in here do too, because I can look at their comments, and maybe they're not going to be buying a business or buying something, but it's still, you learn something from the conversation, and it's enjoyable. I really, really do love this. If there's ever something to cover, that we have missed, and you want to, come back on, we can run this back and do this again. Please reach out. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I just love to learn stuff, hear people's story, and maybe sometimes it's talking about wrenches, sometimes it's selling equipment, sometimes it has nothing to do
Yeah,
with HVAC.
I get it, man. I'm with you. I enjoyed it too. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, of course. So now, if people wanted to, reach out to you, what is the best way to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, the best way is go to we have a website just basically for the book and buying your building. But if you go there, you can also contact us. So it's ownyourbuildingnow.com, ownyourbuildingnow.com. You can get a free copy of the book, even if you're not ready to buy today. I think it's like $6.95 for shipping and printing. And, we pay for that. We pay for the book and we just ship it to you. There's also an evaluator. It's like a 2-minute quiz on there, or assessment on, does buying a building make sense for you? And if you're not in a position to buy a building and you're not interested, but maybe you're thinking about investment real estate or whatever, you can also click the button to schedule like a 20-minute discovery call with myself or my team. We can just talk about that. Because again, like I said, we do that all day long for people that aren't in a position to buy a building or don't want to for whatever reason. And, yeah, you can also go to my personal website, paulneal.net, paulneal.net. I host a couple of podcasts as well, and you could get all that stuff and all the links there. And that podcast specifically talks about, it's called the Brick and Mortar Money Show. It's really the idea of taking, business owners into free cash and investing in real estate. So it's a whole lot about real estate investing, from land flipping. You were talking about land. I had a guest on there just, I think we just went live this week, and it was about land flipping, which was fascinating to me because I had not done that. To single family flips, the good, the bad, the ugly, to, syndication. So all over the map, if you want to do any of that, it's on there. And some really smart people, a lot smarter than I am, on there, that have done amazing things or doing some amazing things in real estate. If it's something, and I would just encourage everyone, Gil, that if they haven't thought about it, and maybe this is a new concept to them and they're young, they should really start thinking about how they could get on the real estate train. Because if you're young, what a great time to get started, because it's going to do nothing but grow your wealth over time. And you'll look back in 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years and say, oh my gosh, look at where I am. I'm so thankful that I made that decision. And it literally can be life-changing for you. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wish I'd have done it 15 years sooner, but it is what it is, and it has been life changing. So, Paul, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really enjoyed this, and I'll try to make sure that we stay in touch after this, and try to have you back on for another topic or discussion. Talk about anything.
Except for HVAC. I just know how to set the thermostat.
Hey, that's fine. I don't fix it anymore either. I just help other people to do it. They
Nice.
make fun of me and
Nice.
say my tools are dusty. But yeah, thank you again for taking the time on this Wednesday night to come chat with me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It was a lot of fun, man. Appreciate it, Gil.
Yep. Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing out. Um, Hey, I hope all of you. I appreciate the comments you all are giving. I hope that you did learn something in this, and it was just an enjoyable conversation. You guys know how these are when I podcast. Sometimes we'll talk HVAC technical, the X's and O's, and static pressure and electrical stuff and all these other things. Sometimes it'll be a motivational or sales thing or communication stuff. Sometimes it's just hearing someone's story. Sometimes it's financial stuff, and I just want you all to get something out of it. Whether you're gonna, go buy a building or you just learn something financial or something that makes you better in your everyday life. I love that. That's why I like watching something that learns me that teaches me something, learns me something. And I hope you enjoyed it. I really had a blast. I love these conversations. I really, really do. Now I'm probably going to want to get Paul's book because I'm going to want to read that. Just because I've been forcing myself to read to make myself better. That's why at the end of every show, I say, always try to be the best version of yourself, whether that is reading a book, a podcast, etc. But with that being said, thank you guys for hanging. With that being said, shut up, rookie. But with that being said, man, I don't want to keep you. I thank all of you for hanging out a little bit, waiting for us to get going. And, for staying a little bit longer, especially I know my buddy Pat had a podcast tonight, but tell Pat, what's he doing? Podcasting the same night as me. I'm gonna have to text Pat. But yeah, no, I don't got one of those. It's in a box out there. Just kidding. But anyway, guys, make sure you follow the podcast on all of the social media sites to stay up to date with everything that's going on. I'm slowly pushing this thing forward now that I'm done with the old house and it's gone, that I can focus on here, the podcast, and all that kind of stuff. I think that's it. I'll leave that alone. I think I'm going to do a live stream, just a hangout this weekend, but I'm not sure whether I want to do it before, the misfitch of HVAC or if I want to do it after. So if you guys have any, suggestions, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm more than happy to look at it. Or I will set something out so that you guys know when I'm going to do it, but I definitely want to start doing those. So not about recording the audio. It's just about having fun, BSing and bullshit with you guys, having fun. And I know sometimes when I have to do this podcast and have a guest, I have to concentrate on them. So I don't get to talk to you guys as much. All right. With that being said, stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. We all have somebody to make it home to, and I want you to make it home the same way that you left. Make sure the breaker's off. The unit is grounded, whatever it is, just please be safe. There's so many dumb things that can affect us, and I don't want to see anything happen to any of you. Do the little things. Set yourself apart from the next guy or girl. All right. Keep learning. Always be the best version of you. Try to learn as much as you possibly can, even if it's not even HVAC related and it's something in your personal life. Just keep making yourself better. Keep growing as much as you possibly can. You can thank me later, because the moment that I started being or doing that and having that kind of mentality, my life changed in a positive way. That and my faith, but I will never preach, my faith to you guys. I may talk about it, but I'll never preach it at you. So, and then another thing, as far as it comes to the trade, if you're good at what you do, give back, help somebody else, leave your legacy, and you can look back and be like, man, I remember when those 3 guys were helpers and I trained them and now they're 3 fucking killers out there. It's the first time I said the F word tonight. How about that? But, Do those little things. All right. I hope that each and every one of you have an amazing rest of your week. Make sure to check out all the other shows, our friends out there. You got Overtime out there on Fridays. You got Misfits out there on Saturdays. And then I'm going to do the live stream. All right. So stay safe. I appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, I'll talk at you mofos later. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
Bye. Appreciate you guys.
See you, everybody. Have a good night.